Hey everyone, how are you guys doing? Hi Daisy. You're so very welcome. Hi Dee. Hey Sleuth. I hope everybody's had a good week so far. I'm really excited to have Fig with us today. We're going to finish up Tristan's case, and we're going to talk to him about some of the things that are going on now. Oh, Daisy, you are so nice. Thank you so much. Hey, John. Welcome. How are you? I hope everything is going well for you. So good to see you. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Fig on. I don't want him to sit backstage. So, hey, Annie, I'm going to bring him in with us. So everybody, welcome Fig to our chat and our live.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you could hear me and see me all right.
Hey, Maria. Good to see you. So today what we're going to do is finish up Tristan's case and talk about what happened at the end and how they found the person responsible, or at least the person they feel is responsible, because he's not been in court yet and actually tried. So hopefully that's coming soon.
Yeah, it happened in June 22nd, 2018, and still we're waiting for court
to
start. So it's a journey.
Do you think that a lot of that had to do with the COVID stuff hitting?
I think some of it did.
Yeah, because the courts got so backed up. I know they did because of it, and it's just got to be so hard, the waiting to get it resolved, that part of it.
Yeah, dates will get scheduled and then they'll get pushed back. So for us and the family who want to be there, it's hard to plan and then you mentally prepare for it, and then it doesn't happen. So
right, that's just got to be so awful emotionally for all of you. So for people who may be coming in, I'm just going to give you a quick kind of a synopsis of what happened to Tristan Beaudette. He is Fig's cousin. He was 35 years old. He was an amazing scientist. He had a PhD in chemistry, and he was married to his high school sweetheart, Erica Wu, and they had two daughters who were 2 and 4. And Tristan was an amazing dad. He just loved being with his girls, teaching them about outdoors and nature. He would spend a lot of time hiking and camping and biking. He just loved the outdoors. And he was also a wonderful husband. And it just so happened that Erica had to sit for a board exam on the Friday, June 22nd of 2018. And he offered to take the girls and go camping on a camping trip. They were getting ready to leave Southern California and move to their family to Northern California. And he liked this one place a lot, and he wanted to take the girls there one last time. And he went with his brother-in-law, and who also had 2 small children, 2 small boys, and they all went camping and were having a good time. And around 4:40 in the morning on June 22nd, they were all sleeping, tucked away in their tents, and Tristan was shot. And unfortunately, he was killed right there in front of his 2 daughters while he was asleep in the tent. And luckily, the girls were unharmed. And the sad thing about it all is that they did have to witness that. A video for you guys so that you will get to hear some of the eyewitness accounts of what happened that morning, but there wasn't a lot of evidence at the scene. And the authorities confirmed that nobody had seen anyone that came into the camp around that time. And it made it kind of frustrating for law enforcement. And they did have a reward that was offered for any information leading to the arrest of the person who was involved or, did this horrific act. But the killer remained unknown for a few months. But what's so horrific about Tristan's case, in my opinion, is that law enforcement was already aware that there was a pattern developing in this area of Malibu Creek State Park, because they had multiple random shootings that started in November of 2016. So almost 18 months, they knew that somebody was shooting at people. And they didn't really do anything about it. They didn't put out any warnings or anything to the public. They didn't close the campgrounds. And we'll get into that too in a little bit. So then in October of 2018, the authorities conducted a search for an armed suspect who was stealing food from multiple places in Calabasas, California. And that month, there was an incident at a local community center when someone stole food from a vending machine. And the police followed fresh footprints that were in the area and tracked down a man named Anthony Rauda. He was 42 years old, and he was in a ravine, and he was taken into custody. And police did state that he had a rifle with him at the time of his arrest. Anthony had a criminal history going back to 2006. He had been in prison for weapons violations in December of 2018 and for parole violations the month prior. The authorities do believe that Anthony was responsible for the string of shootings that had been happening in the area that all began in November of 2016 when James Rogers was shot while sleeping in a hammock in the park. And just a week later, someone shot into the sleeping area of a parked automobile. In 2017, there were 3 incidents wherein vehicles were shot at in the vicinity of the park. And in June of 2018, just 4 days before Tristan's death, a gunman had shot at a car as it traveled down a road close to Malibu Creek State Park. He was also charged with multiple burglaries that occurred in the area. The suspect only stole food, and the police felt that it was because he lived in the wilderness and he only surfaced when he required sustenance. He was charged with murder of Tristan, 10 counts of attempted murder, and 5 counts of second-degree burglary. It took a while, I think, for them to figure things out. The authorities said that comparing the bullets from Tristan's murder and some of the other shooting incidents with the ammunition that Anthony was alleged to have had led the charges to being brought. He had a homemade rifle, and I think that was kind of interesting as well. But he was a felon, so he was not allowed to legally own firearms or have ammunition. They also had questions about Anthony's competence, which is also one reason I think things had been delayed. They had to make sure that he was competent to stand trial. They did find him competent, so he cannot use the insanity defense. And he has maintained his innocence, and he is still in custody. So that is pretty much the whole synopsis of where we are today with this case. And Fig's here with us today to talk about some of the things that have transpired and how it has affected him, his family. And I thought it was a good way for us to get a better understanding of why we need to champion families that go through these things, because as content creators, we're responsible on how we choose to tell the stories of these cases. These are not just cases. It's not just us sitting around a table playing a game of Clue. These are real people, with real survivors that are going through absolute hell with what their family was put through at no fault of their own. So, Fig, you want to talk a little bit about it, or?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit, and then maybe we could show the video to give everyone kind of a context. But yeah, I will say I was the family representative to reach out to law enforcement and to kind of just handle things that way. And as Kristen said, that it was difficult to find out who it was because of the type of gun that was used. It was called a homemade style gun. So when I talked to law enforcement, they said they couldn't find shell casings. They had no evidence except a bullet hole in the tent, and that it was fired from long range, somewhat long. It wasn't up close. So it was, for 6 months, no evidence, no clue of who did this, no, like, why did this happen? What happened? And it's, times like this, you could think of all the bad things. But I was just grateful the girls didn't get injured, because person shot into a tent with, my cousin who's 35, but a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old were also in that tent. So it could have been worse. As bad as it was, we have to be thankful for the things that we have, and we still have my nieces. So that's one way to think positive.
And that's the truth. I mean, even though it was tragic, to lose Tristan the way you did, at least the girls were spared. And that's a blessing. So let's watch this news clip. I've got a news clip that I want to show you guys. And then there's another audio clip of an eyewitness. So let's watch these. Just give me a minute to pull up and share my screen.
All right. First super chat and 1,000 subscribers. That's awesome.
Yeah, I finally hit that over the weekend, I think it was. Last week, I guess it was. But anyway, let's see how this plays out. Hold on. Get the full screen going here.
I think it was the guy just picked a tent. I don't think it was targeted to answer that question. But
I hope it plays. It was playing for me earlier. Okay. Why are you buffering?
It's thinking about it.
It's thinking about playing. Well,
if not,
can you pull it up? I don't know if you can. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I
let
can.
me try it again. Hold on. I don't know why this is working this way, but I was just watching it. So I know it works. I just don't know why it's not playing now.
Because it's live. Technology.
Yeah, because we want it to, right?
Right.
That's why. It's like I'm buffered. I don't know why. I hardly have anything open. It's not like... StreamYard's funny though sometimes. I've noticed with playing certain videos, depending on how they're loaded, I even think.
Well, I could do it. I think I just asked to share my screen.
Let me see. You put that in there, so let me see if I can get this. Hold on. Let me try to get rid of mine. Hold on a minute. Because I just saw yours come up. Let's see if we can get it. All right. Let me get out of here. Stop screen. And let's go to this.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. I'll play it.
You play it.
A murder investigation, and right now deputies say they have no leads, no suspect, and no motive. We are told that Beaudette was a brilliant scientist who worked for a pharmaceutical company, and tonight his heartbroken widow is trying to stay strong for their young children. 35-year-old Tristan Beaudette had a resume most would envy. According to his LinkedIn page, he had a PhD in chemistry from UC Berkeley, but it was his two girls, his family tells us, that were his greatest pride. That's why his shooting death in a tent with his toddler daughters nearby is so devastating and so puzzling.
The campground was nearly full at summer vacation.
Even with other campsites close by at Malibu Creek State Park, deputies say someone shot Beaudette just before 5 on Friday morning. Deputies say they found him bleeding and dying inside his tent. His 2- and 4-year-old daughters were with him, but unhurt. Beaudette's family tells us his wife, also a PhD, was getting ready to take her board exams, so she stayed behind in Irvine. No one ever dreamed, even fellow campers, that violence would grip such a scenic and tranquil place.
Like pretty secluded, like everything's pretty spread out, like it's pretty quiet. Like I wouldn't expect like something to happen.
Now Beaudette's family is grief-stricken. He and his wife were planning to move and looking forward to a new life, both as PhDs, and raising their 2 young daughters who shared Daddy's love for the outdoors. And tonight, loved ones have set up the Tristan Beaudette Memorial Fund on GoFundMe. They say they want to help raise money to help out his widow. If you'd like to donate, we put a link on our website, cbsla.com. Back to you.
A week or two after the first season of Lost Hills wrapped up, I met.
All right. What this part is, it's from Lost Hills podcast. And they have a whole season about my cousin's case, and they interviewed a witness. So I'm just going to play that. It's only like another few minutes.
A woman named Stacy Seaborn. This is her, reading from her journal. Stacy wanted to give me a first-hand account of the fear and chaos that erupted in the campground at Malibu Creek State Park on the morning that Tristan Beaudette was killed, sleeping beside his 2 little girls. Friday, 4:33 a.m. Awoke to 4 to 5 gunshots all in a row. Panic. My brain. Oh my God. Stacy was right there, just across the road from Beaudette's campsite, in a tent with her 8-year-old daughter Amelia and Amelia's best friend, Sophia. I grabbed my cell phone and turned it on. The light turned on. Shit. I pressed it into the blanket. The sound of it turning on startled me. Fuck. I covered it hard with my hands. I knew I needed to be quiet. I'm waiting to hear the crackling of twigs, footsteps up to our tent. We're going to be shot next. Oh my God, help us. I can hear the baby crying, Daddy, 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 over and over, and the most mournful, slow cry. My heart sinks. I want to help the baby. Amelia, my daughter, speaks up for the first time. And in a whisper, she says, Mommy, what was that? I answered back in a whisper, It was firecrackers, baby. Go back to sleep. I'm on full alert and listening. Did the father kill his family and then himself? Is that baby hurt? Is someone consoling that baby? Is that baby alone? Is he out there waiting to shoot someone else? Is there a random shooter out there? Sophia is still sleeping. Oh my God, fuck. I'm listening and waiting for footsteps. We need to be quiet. I fight the urge to run.
Wow. Just wow. The first time I listened to that, and it just brings tears almost instantly to my eyes, because you can put yourself in that person's thought process and place. And we will never know the terror, but to just that emotion that's in her voice telling that story is gut wrenching. I'm gonna bring this photo up. Hold on a second. Just so to give people a little, that's the campground. So you can kind of see what was going on, where the campsite was, you guys. I will highly suggest that the Lost Hills podcast is a really good podcast. It took me a while to get through it. I did it over a few days because it's really emotional, I thought. But it's worth it if you guys really want to find out more about Tristan. John, thank you so much. But yeah, such a senseless crime with so much destruction, and it only took a split second. Our lives can change on just a blink of an eye. You know, it's just crazy what this family has had to endure because of some sick person's desire to go out and shoot people. I just don't understand. But that's where we are, you know? And Tristan deserves justice. I think he's going to get justice in this case. However, there is another crazy twist. Hold on a second, because I want to bring that up a little bit. We'll go back to, hang on a second. I don't know why that's doing that. Give me a minute. Sorry, guys. I'm going to take Tristan off the screen. There we go. Okay. So the other part of this case, which to me is just unbelievable in my mind. Tristan's wife, Erica, filed a lawsuit in this case. It alleged that the state and Los Angeles County failed to warn the public about earlier shootings in the same general area. And she brought that lawsuit in July of 2019. And he heard the arguments of what happened, what the sheriff department and other government agencies had confirmed. You know, yes, they were aware of at least 7 unsolved gunshot shootings of humans and vehicles in and adjacent to Malibu Creek State Park between the dates of November 2016 and Tristan's shooting date of June 22nd, 2018. However, the defendants intentionally withheld any and all information of these previous 7 shootings from the public. The lawsuit contended that by failing to warn the public of earlier shootings, the sheriff's department acted with willful disregard for Tristan's life. Had Tristan known of the prior shootings, he would have never brought himself or his 2 young daughters to camp there. He put his daughters and himself at severe risk at that Malibu Creek State Park camping ground that day. Lawyers for both Los Angeles County and the state maintained in their court papers that neither of their clients had a duty to warn Beaudette and the public about the earlier shootings. And to me, that is just, I just can't even believe it. I can't believe somebody could stand up in court and say that with a straight face. The judge ruled that Erica and her children alleged that in part of the case against the county, the plaintiffs alleged there was a special relationship formed with the sheriff's department because they knew there was a potential assailant, and therefore anyone in and around Malibu Park was a potential victim. However, Tristan never inquired of the sheriff's department if he was in danger and told that he was not, or that he was specifically at risk from being shot by the gunman. Who goes camping, and before you do go camping, you actually go out and ask the local law enforcement if there's an active shooter? Most people don't do that. To me, that's crazy. As a member of the general public, Tristan was not owed a duty of care based on the failure to warn, the judge wrote in his decision. Similarly, the judge found that there are no allegations that state employees gave Tristan the expectation of protection or had the ability to control the gunman's conduct. The suit noted that Sheriff's Detective James Royal notified his supervisors in 2017 about 3 shootings that had occurred in the area and advised them that the public should be warned. So a sheriff's detective tried to do the right thing, but no warning was ever issued, and 4 more shootings ensued after that, prompting Royal to once again ask that the public be warned. But the request again was denied by Royal's superior officers. Following Tristan's killing and revelations about the earlier shooting in the area, Royal was ordered by his supervisors to attend a town hall meeting and explain to the public the department's position that the other shootings were unrelated to Tristan's murder. Despite Royal's belief to the contrary, the lawsuit alleged. And so the judge found against her and rejected the lawsuit. He gave her 30 days to refile an amended complaint to show why the negligence claims should remain in the suit. So Tristan, what's happening with that? Is it done? Is it done? Can she do anything else, or?
So it's I think it's done. Maybe she could appeal, but there's the officer Royal,
Yeah,
and I think another one, they were trying to warn the public and they got demoted because of that. They got in trouble by their superior officers for trying to warn the public. That is crazy.
yeah. Like I said, I mean, that to me goes beyond negligence. That's almost like a cover up. It's like you're trying to, what's the purpose? Why wouldn't they want to warn the public? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They
really should have closed the campsite, and it's like the movie Jaws, I guess. That's the only thing I could compare it to, where,
they wanted people to come and camp. I don't know if I'm assuming people had to pay to camp there. So there was revenue that they would lose if they closed it. It was in the middle of summer, but that doesn't matter to me. If you have somebody actively shooting, you would want to get to the bottom of that before you actually have someone killed. And they did have somebody wounded who ended up having to have surgery that was shot. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was just these random shootings and nobody had been hit yet.
Right. And another element to it is it was the time of election, the new sheriff. So one sheriff, it would look really poor on him if this got out, and he ended up losing. to another sheriff that came in. And then also keep in mind the publicity, where I remember like Rob Schneider was tweeting about it and Kim Kardashian was tweeting about it because they live nearby.
Right.
So Kim Kardashian's tweeting about what happened to Tristan and putting his name, then people are going to think, what the heck is going on here? It's chaos.
Exactly. Well, when I first heard about it, I heard about him and started looking the stuff up, and I realized how close to Calabasas this was in Hidden Hills. Those are some really big, wealthy, famous people that live there in those areas. And I can't imagine they would be happy knowing there was an active shooter nearby that the police wasn't paying any attention to. But yeah, what a political, it sounds like it was could have been a political thing. It sounds like it could have been, monetary as well. And just complete negligence on the part of, it just doesn't make, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. If in any other national park or state park, if there was somebody being shot, 7 shootings over 18 months, they would close it until they figured out where or who this was that was doing this.
And I wonder if the superior officers, the upper law enforcement, I wonder if they would let their families camp there, or if they would tell them.
Exactly. And Bart has a good point. There's $20 million homes there. So maybe homes won't sell if you've got this in the news about, we've got to close this state park because we've got a shooter and it's been over 18 months and we still don't know who it is. That's going to affect that as well. Them being able to sell real estate or whatever. It's just sad. Like I said, I go back to, I know saying what if or if only, but good Lord, if they had just done that simple thing, close the state park, Tristan would still be with us.
Yeah. And it's hard not to go through the what ifs sometimes and the anger. And I know I don't want to relate to what Kelsey's going through because it's definitely different, but how she said she was angry and yelling at the gravesite. Like I get it. There's anger and it's who you want to project the anger to. So like the 7 steps of grieving, I would say that it's true. It's you're sad, you're mad at different people, mad at yourself. And I was going to help him move the next week and I was looking forward to catching up with him. So yeah, sometimes you're selfish about it. Like, well, I want my Tristan for me. I want my cousin. We're 2 weeks apart and we had some plans that we were going to get together and we're just on each other's LinkedIn and talking to each other. And I'm so excited to catch up with them. And so it's just, there's no right or wrong way, I guess, to grieve. Everyone is a little bit different, but definitely go through cycles and anger.
Right, that's for sure. I can attest to that. How grief is, to me, grief is just, it's like a wave in the ocean and it just goes up and down and up and down and it's all over the place. And everybody grieves differently. I get really angry sometimes myself when I see people judge others about how they're grieving, or, well, that person's not crying, or that person's not doing this. Everybody grieves differently. And until you're in that specific situation, you have no way of knowing how you're going to react or what shock can do to all of us. Just all kinds of things. And judge gently is what I always say, when you're talking to people who are grieving or have had these things happen. And you brought up Kelsey. I mean, we can say that's the truth because people have been all over her for the last 5 years about her demeanor, how she is, how can she still be all happy and, and all this other stuff. Well, she has to go on with her life. that's part of living. We don't want her to not be happy, or at least I don't. I want to see her happy and be able to move on. She's always going to have that hole, as you well know. There's going to always be that empty spot where that person was that isn't there anymore.
And you had to prepare yourself. Like, who knows if a person wasn't crying all day yesterday and now you see them today and they seem stoic. That doesn't mean they weren't crying yesterday. I mean, I had to prepare myself for this today. I've never been nervous for a live, and I don't even know what I'm nervous about, but just because it's emotional, and this is.
I have been too the last couple of days, because I was like, you've got to be, you just have to put yourself, especially when you're talking to a family member, you have to put yourself into into a state of mind, I guess, of how am I going to talk to him? How do I keep this without upsetting you? That's a big part of it. You don't want to make you have to relive anything that's going to be upsetting. But at the same time, I know my own grief, my own pain of the loss of my son. And there's really no way to protect from that when you talk about them. But you and I've discussed it behind the scenes. Talking about them makes us feel good, even though at the same time it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and you did a wonderful job on part one. I told you I was watching it, and it made me cry because how proud I was of you and the job that you're doing. And it just, I don't know, just glad that we became friends, and the way you covered his case, because I haven't trusted this case with anyone else, with CNN, with Fox, with MSNBC, with you name it, Good Morning America, Michael Strahan, all these stars, but
I can't
just
believe
didn't.
that. I mean, to hear you say that to me, it just makes me feel, I just can't tell you how I feel about you trusting me with that. I'm glad that I've done a job that you're proud of for Tristan, because I took this case very, very seriously. Like I said, it took me days to get through some of this stuff. It was so hard just for me, and I can't even imagine what it's been for you. And I feel really good that I was able to bring his story out there, because it needs to still be talked about until this monster is put away, or whatever. I don't even know. I guess we could talk about it, or how your family feels. What California has the death penalty. So what's happening with this? Do they know? I mean, do you
We
know?
know, in California, even if someone is sentenced to death, the last time it actually happened was, I don't know, forever ago.
So
So
that's
it's not
probably not going to happen.
right. And
I know.
I go back to, like, nothing's going to bring Tristan back. I'm like, I don't even care about that. So I'm like, I just want Tristan. I'll make a deal. That guy could be free forever. Give me Tristan back. Like, he could go on his own way, but then you have to go, all right, that's obviously not possible. You can't have that trade. So then it's like, yeah, you want to see him punished as much as possible. So that's like when all the calls came in to me, was when it first happened. And then once they caught this guy, I think everyone wanted me maybe to say something I shouldn't, or just to show this great anger, or try to, catch me up, or, whatever makes good news. And
Yeah.
that's why, obviously, I don't feel that with you. Your heart's in the right spot. So I feel comfortable talking to you, but it's just the timing of it before. And I asked everyone in my family just not to do interviews, not to talk to anyone. Really, it's really scary to mess up an investigation too. So keep that in mind with the Delphi murders. I mean, if you say something in public that might paint a picture of the suspect in a certain light, well, his defense attorney is going to use that in the court. Like, there's already a bad perception of this guy because of these things that were going on in social media or these interviews. So now our jury is already skewed against this person. So you really have to be careful. There's that mixed with, right, we don't get all this extra information as his family members. Like, I'd call law enforcement. The detective, it would switch. I was talking to one detective. I don't even see his name mentioned anymore in any of the media. Like, where'd that guy go? And then they pass you off to someone else. And like, there's this thing I just saw on Amazon Prime Discovery Plus, the ID channel called Citizen PI, and they have a whole episode on Tristan that I just watched right before this. So no one calls the family up and say, "Oh, they're making an episode about Tristan." So yeah, his wife wasn't involved, and so that I
that
watched.
to me is just, to me, the fact that people do that without taking the family into account, to me, that's just horrendous. How can you, even if it's a documentary or whatever, how can you go out there and try to tell their story and not talk to the family of the victim, to get their, not even their approval, but to make sure that what you're saying is fact, make sure that it's something that they feel comfortable with. I don't understand people around this, whether it be our journalists, our media. Is it all just about, it used to be back in the day before computers, and yes, I'm that old. It was all about selling newspapers. Now it's all about views or watching, your ratings on television or whatever.
Mhm.
Is that what this is all about? I mean, it's mind-blowing. I can't imagine being sitting, I mean, imagine you, I mean, you're in your office, but imagine you sitting on your couch at home with your family, and you guys are just clicking through trying to find something to watch, and boom, here's this documentary about Tristan that you didn't even know was out there.
That's like the podcast though. I was at the dentist, and there was an advertisement about Malibu Creek murders, a scientist getting shot. I was at the dentist and heard a commercial about a podcast, and that's how I learned about that going on. And I mean, I know we didn't talk. So when they would ask us, maybe they're like, "Hey, this family doesn't talk, so we're just going to do whatever." I mean, Erica does talk sometimes, and Tristan's brother has a few times, but it's draining. I guess what was the worst was, so he was shot and killed on Friday. I flew out. I was at the house on Sunday, and just, we had just close family there. The girls were there. And then outside, there's just this news vans circling the neighborhood, helicopters trying to get like footage of the house and stuff. And so I just went outside and I mean, you can imagine how Erica was at this point, and the girls, and she's just like, I brought some pictures of Tristan for her as we're younger, because that's what she asked, like if anyone could bring things that she could remember by, and she just want to hear stories about Tristan. So,
Do you care if I share one of those pictures?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, while you're talking, you go ahead and talk. I'm going to share it.
Yeah, so they were circling, and I was afraid one of them would come up, and of course you're not in the mood. I mean, it's 2 days after it happened. So I walked outside and I told the news van, like, "Hey, we're not doing this today. No one's going to be talking. Could you guys just leave?" There it is.
There it is.
Yeah,
look at you guys. There's our sweet fig. I mean, just a little guy. Look at him.
I grew into my ears. I did have the ears.
You did. Look at your ears. Maybe it's the haircut, though. Your ears don't look like that now. You grew into them.
Yeah.
And then here's Tristan, you guys. Look at that face. You guys all look like you're just having a great time.
Yeah, I thought that was a cute one. I have ones where we're older and stuff, but I figured this one is
I like this one.
the sweetest one.
Yeah, I really like this one. I like how you're standing with your arms behind your back. You look so like,
Yeah, we were 2 weeks apart.
Do you know how old you are here? 6'4". Do you think you're like what, 7, 8?
Yeah, about that.
That's what I was thinking. But yeah, what a great pictures. Great memories. Those are awesome things that obviously to have.
Yeah. And there's that one we could see where they drew. So I got that sent to me that the girls drew, and I know it was heartbreaking. Just another thing to consider is the girls growing up without a dad. And so some of the pictures that they would do for class, the girls will get confused and they wouldn't draw Tristan in the pictures, and they're like family pictures because dad's not there anymore, which I get. I understand that. But this one was sent to me 2021, and then they started drawing dad back into the pictures. So I thought that
There
was
he
cool.
is. That's awesome though. That's such good, and the fact that they can talk about him, and that's all good things. And I'm sure you guys talk about him all the time, so that helps them as well. My biggest fear about my son was that people would forget him. So, um,
Yeah, there's a Halloween picture of him there. He was an incredible dad. So
I mean, just reading about the stuff that I read about him, and then you talking about him. But yeah, my first thought was, and I know I'm not bashing dads out there or men in general, but there's not a lot of men that are going to take a 2-year-old girl and a 4-year-old girl and go camping alone without mom. That's a big deal to me. I think that a lot of dads would admit that they would be afraid to do that at those ages. So it tells you what kind of dad he was. He was hands-on, and he loved those girls. And he was trying to teach them. And you know what? One of the other things that I thought, Fig, you should talk about Tristan, because it really rang true with me, which I think also made me just think so much highly of him. We did lose a dad. Erica lost a husband. You lost your cousin, but the world lost the possibility of a cure to cancer. Can you talk about what he was working on?
yeah, I can with my limited knowledge. He was definitely the smart one in the family. Hard to be as smart as that guy. But he was working on, he would do research on how to treat cancer cells and also viruses, so vaccines. But to the cancer, he would use polymers to have medicine basically only attack the cancerous cells in your body and leave your cells that are not cancerous, that are not infected with cancer, leave them alone. So right, with chemotherapy, I'm sure you know more than I do, that it just destroys everything, all your cells.
Yes. It was described to me by an oncologist early on in my son's diagnosis was chemotherapy is like getting under your kitchen sink and taking all of the chemicals and drinking them, like just pouring them into your body, because it kills all the natural flora, the natural bacteria that we have in our bodies to keep us healthy. Chemotherapy kills all of that, and it kills the healthy cells right along with it. And so if the cancer doesn't get you, a lot of times why people die is from the actual chemotherapy itself. Some of those drugs are just so horrific. So to get away from that, that's what Tristan was working on. Tristan was trying to develop ways to isolate cancer cells and attack them without hurting the good cells around them. And it sounds like he was doing amazing because he had patents on his technology, and he was only 35 years old. And so it's not like he'd been doing this for a really long time. And I just I think every day since I've learned about him of the things that he could have probably accomplished had he been allowed to, continue his life. And that to me is heartbreaking. But yeah, what an amazing guy with what he was doing. Again, it shows what type of person he is. He wanted to do something big to help mankind. He had a great heart. A great heart. I'm so glad you shared him with us in this community. I really, really am.
Yeah, just imagine medicine that only goes to the cancer cells and destroys those and leaves everything else as is. All your healthy stuff in your body is good to go. And
Mm-hmm.
and he
Yeah,
was
just
doing
like
things with,
I think it's SD said, chemo is the pits. It makes you weak and doesn't make, and you don't want to eat. I mean, when one of the drugs that my son took, it caused, you guys know what a mouth sore is like when you get a mouth sore inside your mouth, canker sore, whatever you want to call it. He had those all inside his mouth, all the way down his digestive system. So his esophagus, all the way through his body. He was on morphine for the pain. So that's just from one cancer drug.
yeah,
So,
and the
yeah.
technology would also be able to be applied to other things instead of just cancer treatment, but other vaccines and things as well. And he was using, I didn't understand it, something with lights too would help direct it through light technology. I don't know.
Yeah, he was working on a lot of stuff with vaccines, which really made me start thinking about what he would have thought about all of this pandemic stuff. I think he would have been front and center in helping with that even. I certainly do, based on what I know about what he was working on. Yeah, he had big ideas, and he was smart. He was definitely smart. Well, you know that. You knew him. But I mean, it's very, very apparent that this guy knew what he was, what he was doing.
Yeah, I
So
think it was a loss for all of humanity that
I
don't have
definitely
someone
believe
like that.
that as well. In fact, one of the things you guys might not know about this whole thing with this whole case, in the beginning, before they found Anthony, there was all kinds of stuff around Tristan's case that he might have been killed because of working for Big Pharma, and he was getting close to certain things. And there's people out there that do believe that the Big Pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, don't want cancer to be cured. It would lose them billions and trillions of dollars in revenue if that happens. I hate to think that way, simply because it's just heartbreaking to think that there would be anything out there where people wouldn't want that to happen. But we all know that money corrupts, so anything's possible. But that was around this case as well. People thought that was a possibility of what happened. I don't think so. I think it was this crazy person.
Yeah, I guess it's a better story that way, and maybe it would make me feel better, I guess, a little bit. Or I don't know, but yeah, I think they have the right person. And someone asked if the research is still going on.
Yeah.
So he was working on a small team of 3 people. He was leading a small R&D team. So I'm not sure. I was looking and making sure those people are all right, to kind of maybe debunk that theory, make sure nothing happens to them. Yeah. So if the other 2 people working on this project with him wound up dead, then okay, I would think maybe there's something to it. But he's already published papers about it, so I don't know how much they're still working on it. And it was, so remember, Tristan, they were moving, so he was leaving Allergen and he was going to another company. So it was a transition. So people talk about that too. Well, they don't want to lose them to the competition.
Right.
I met a lot of his coworkers, everyone from Allergen. They were at his celebration of life. And yeah, I don't know. It's all, I guess,
Yeah,
conspiracy.
you wonder if there was non-compete agreements signed, or you know what I mean, clauses like that. It doesn't sound like it if he was going from one company to another, but you know, with what he knew and his knowledge, you know, there's such competition out there in that world. It is interesting, but I agree with whoever just said it. The chat went real fast, but oh, here it is. SD said, we need more people like Tristan in the scientific world. We need more people like Tristan just in the world, in my opinion, people that are caring of others and, you know, we're willing to fight the fight. And we just need that. And to all of you, I've been watching the chat. We have, I think Daisy SD, there's some cancer survivors in here. So to all of you, God bless you. And, you know, it's not easy to go through that. I watched my son battle it for 10 months and that was enough for me. I didn't need to see it. But sadly, I've had other family members succumb to the disease since then. And it's nothing fun to watch. DMG asks, is there maybe a scholarship fund that will be set up or something similar for Tristan? Have you guys thought about that? Or
So we had a GoFundMe set up early and were able to raise funds that way. So it is something that I looked into. So I'm going to talk to Erica again soon and see where that is. But yeah, we were able to start something, and then GoFundMe got kind of weird with things and kind of a long story. But yeah, there's something.
it would be neat if a scholarship something could be set up possibly for like a scientific student that's going into what he was going into or something to help them, you know. I don't know. That's a neat idea. But it's you know, it's hard sometimes to figure out what or how you want to remember those that have passed that way. It's difficult to come up with something. So I'm sure you guys will do something. It's like you said, it's still you guys don't even have the trial and stuff behind you yet. So it's kind of hard to move forward. I'm sure you feel kind of stuck, don't you? Like you guys are just stuck.
Yes. Yeah, we've been stuck for a while. And again, why I think it is him is the ballistics test on his gun matched the bullet that killed Tristan. So that's pretty damning evidence. But I still want to see the trial through and yeah, get it behind us and just keep checking on the girls, see how they're doing, because Tristan is someone, if anything ever happened to me, there's no better person than Tristan. Knowing, like, if I had a few seconds left and on this earth and I was told that Tristan would be looking over my family, I would feel a lot better in those last few seconds. So that's what
I'm sure that he is looking down on you and loving you and knowing that you have them in your heart and arms and are doing everything you can for them. I'm sure he knows that about you.
Yeah, thank you. I think he does. I know he does.
Yep.
And you always want to do more. And so I get it when families of victims, they always want to do more. But sometimes there's only so much you could do. And that's another frustrating thing.
It's true. Well, I think part of it goes back to when you're such a compassionate person, and I've learned that you are, that you know, you want to help so much. You want to take away some of that pain that they're feeling. And it's hard to do that. You kind of have to let them get through it, and to watch it, it's difficult. You're going through your own. So it's not an easy thing. But I think that you're doing an amazing job of it myself. I can't imagine you. I mean, I know just from listening to you, you're going to plan to be in court every day for this. And I don't know how you're going to do that. You're going to take people ask me that though. How did you get through that? How did you do that? You're such a strong person, and really, you find that inner strength that you didn't know you had. So I'm sure you will.
Yeah, strength and anger. And yeah, it's nothing that I look forward to because I'm definitely angry, and to be in the same room as that person, it's going to be a challenge. But I know that it will help with the case, having the more family there.
Yes.
And if it's on Zoom, I don't think it will be, but that is another thing that you lose that element.
The physical element of actually being there and being able to look at him, or, make him know that you are there and here
Right.
we are. Yeah, it's a complete different dynamic, I'm sure.
And something interesting on that show episode that I just watched before this, the Citizen PI season 1, episode 2, called Malibu Sniper. How did Tristan Beaudette die? The person who is leading that, she's someone, she's on that podcast, and she reached out to me. But yeah, so I wonder, I guess it's interesting conversation. She's going around saying that they don't have the right person, even though the ballistics match. So I'm like, I just watched it right before, so I'm trying to process it to see how does that make me feel, where like, all right, we're on the right path. We have someone, and now you're saying it might not be them. So part of it, like, does it open something up? Just kind of thinking out loud, but there's I think a 0.01 chance she's right. And maybe it's right. And maybe she's helping to try to find someone. Maybe it is. And if it is 0.01, then let her do her thing and
But
have
doesn't it make
conspiracy.
you've been in the Delphi community now for 3 months, and you've seen enough, you've been on Reddit longer, and all the stuff that gets said around these cases. That's got to make you angry to know that the facts, what's out there, what the facts are, and what in the world. Sorry guys, somebody's trying to call me on Discord. Anyway, what's going on. She got me confused here. Hold on, I lost my train of thought.
Was someone kind of spreading things that
yes, that are not true.
them.
Right, that are not true, and we see that all the time. So it's got to make you angry, and frustrated, to overlook what's right in your front of your face. You kind of want to look at her and say, but these match. How can it be the wrong person? These match. The gun matches. It was on him when they arrested him. He had the gun. It was a homemade gun. He made that gun. It's not like it's a gun that he bought or whatever. He made it. And yeah, just like Tamara said, ballistics don't lie.
Right. I guess you're bringing up a great point. So I would say what I have learned is that sometimes you can't change people's mind either. And they're going to believe what they want to believe. They have an agenda, whether it's clicks, or hers is, clicks on a website she runs. And if that motivates her, great. If it's something else motivates her, fine. But there's so many people have different opinions. It would be even more exhausting to go and try to convince everyone otherwise.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, they're going to think what they want. And as far as I could tell, she's been respectful. So it's fine. Even if someone doesn't agree with truth or reality, but they're being respectful, I guess I'm okay with that, because it could be worse, because I've seen in Delphi people be disrespectful, and there's some things people have been disrespectful. I just don't read the comments on. That's what it is. We might think that family members are always going to read all of our comments and stuff, but of course I've seen stuff about my cousin, and people thought he was a millionaire and he wasn't. They think he had a $20 million house, and they said, you know, like he deserved it. He's wealthy, and just all these crazy things. And like,
But just because you're wealthy doesn't mean you deserve to be
right.
murdered.
And he wasn't there.
I'm sorry. Where does the logic come in there?
There is none. He paid for his own school. I mean, his dad and my dad were brothers, and they grew up poor. And yeah, I mean, he was middle class, and yeah, his wife was getting a new job, but just people say nasty things, and it's more for them try to get a rise. So it's best to just ignore those things.
And I agree with you. I think that I'm finding as I've joined this community as well, you and I came into the YouTube community at this exact same time again, which I think at this point now we were meant to cross paths for that. You know, I just feel that about you. I'm so glad that you were put into my path. And but anyway, in those months, watching some of the stuff of what goes on with how people hide behind keyboards and say horrible things about something they really know nothing about. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think it's a bigger problem than what we realize, because I think it just speaks to what's happening in our world. You know, it just seems to me that there's just more people need to be more kind and think before they speak, think before they type. You know, because like you said, you don't know what that person's gone through that you're speaking to. You don't know, especially in social media, when you're chatting with people or whatever, you don't know who those people are or what they've been going through or what their struggles are. Or, you know, when you came on the scene, nobody knew that you were Tristan's cousin. Nobody knew that you had gone through this horrific thing. And here you were covering on a horrific event, you know. That says a lot about you as well.
Yeah, and maybe part of it, some of it's easier to look at other cases instead of your own family members, but I don't think that was with me. It was just I talked to my wife about it before I did anything, where I was able to find some things out online and really help. I would think with the investigation somewhat from a distance, and I would talk to the district attorney, I would talk to law enforcement, and no one's going to be as motivated as a family member to find things out about people. So I was a few steps ahead. I couldn't sleep. I was up all night, not to say that there weren't people there working their butts off, but I had a certain skill set that I applied to the case, and I felt like I did help with some things and maybe not with others, but I just wanted to see if I could help in any other way to a different case, especially someone, because I remember the first 6 months for us was the roughest, because not only you lose a loved one, but you don't have any answers. You don't know who did this, why they did it. So to find a case, and it just so happened as I was listening to podcast about the one that True Crime Garage did on my cousin, then I listened to another one. It was the Delphi episode. I didn't know what Delphi was, and I started listening to those, and I said, all right, well, maybe this is the case. Somehow it popped up in my algorithm that it's important. I didn't know what it was. So that was kind of how I entered all of this.
Right. Well, I know that everybody that's in this chat is grateful for that, because I know you don't feel like you did a whole lot or whatever, but you have. And I think you've touched a lot of people. And everybody knows you were trying to do good with Delphi. And I think that we need more people in this community that have your compassion, your work ethic, and you know, staying true to credibility and integrity. Those are all things that I would use to describe you and your channel. So I know it's hard to have somebody sit there and say all these wonderful things about you, but I'm seriously mean it. I'm not just, you know, blowing smoke at you. I mean, I'm serious about it all. And I think the fact that your channel grew quickly is a testimony to who you are, because people can figure that out, and they realize that, you know, hey, this guy has something to say that we need to listen to. So, and you gave great information. So
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I've tried to connect dots, which I maybe wasn't always successful, but try to connect dots because I know just wanting answers. The whole community wants answers about Delphi. The family wants answers. And since we don't have information, it's hard to piece things together. I think kind of the final thing that I'm going to do for Delphi is with the new sheriff coming in, I'm going to write a letter and just give some of my experience on things that I've helped with law enforcement on locally, and just to maybe see if I could donate and sign like a non-disclosure agreement. But bottom line, as we all know, I need more information to truly help, more data. That way I'm not just spinning my wheels, but I would donate my time and fly out there and just do it pro bono to see if I could help. And if I did, I wouldn't make a YouTube. I wouldn't be able to. I'd sign non-disclosure, so I wouldn't give any information away. But I think if I could privately help with things, I'd be more than willing to. If I'd help another family kind of get somewhat closure on something, it's very motivating for me.
Tech Death said to tell you he's been lazy making music, but he is making you a song. Life is crazy. So please don't give up on him.
I know what you mean. I appreciate it.
Because yeah, he definitely wants you to have a song. And, you know, but yeah, when you told me that was one of the things that you were thinking about doing with Delphi, I was like, wow, you know, Delphi needs people with your background. They do, I think, to help. And law enforcement, we all know how that law enforcement of small towns is. They don't want to let outsiders in. And I would be interested to see what the new sheriff says to that letter that you write. I definitely will. In Tristan's case, you said you were in contact with law enforcement. Did they take any of your help? I mean, were they more open to you because of you being family, or how were you treated with the law enforcement having the whole issue that was going on with not wanting to release anything about the shootings? I'm just curious about that.
I would say they're more honest, and I knew things that probably the public didn't know earlier on that came out, like the caliber of gun that was used. They were open to it. It's part of it. They didn't want to, I feel like they didn't want to say like, oh, we didn't already know that. They're like, oh, wait, could you email me this? Like, okay. So they were very, I guess, stoic or neutral. They were like, thank you so much. This is what we need. But they were also like, yeah, please email it to me. Because I think putting myself in their shoes, talking to a family member, you don't want to come off as that you haven't already went down a certain channel or pathway. But I was telling them, like, whatever you guys are working on all these things, look, I'm working on certain things too. So here's this. So they were open to it. They wouldn't always answer my calls right away. So some of it was phone tag, and I swear, once I left my number, that's when, I don't know if they gave out my number, but that's right when I was getting all these calls from media, and I just wasn't having it. So I'm like, did I left my number? Did they give out my phone number to like all these? Because it's LA, it's huge, but I don't know.
Media outlets, you were being bombarded with them wanting to, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, I didn't want to be bothered by it because
it's so difficult. Because I told you when I lost my son and I was in Colorado, I went through the similar kind of thing. All the newspapers covered his story over 10 months. I think you probably know, people here probably know that whenever you have a child that's a cancer patient in a community, the community kind of wants to rally around behind them, which is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. You know, they held garage sale, big community garage sale for him. They collected money. They did amazing things. But with all of that being said, when you're going through it and they want to talk to you about it, it's hard. It's hard to want to be in that spotlight. And even afterwards, USA Today called me and wanted to do the story, which they ended up doing, which was fine. But I was telling, I think it was Maria, that the very next day, the local newspaper in Colorado, that big headline on the front page was his name loses battle with cancer. And I was furious, absolutely furious, because he didn't lose anything. And it just made me angry. And I mean, it's huge. You know how they make these big, banner type headlines. And it was a picture of him, a really good picture of him. But I was just, all I could see was that. And my family had gone out and grabbed all of the newspapers they could, because I wanted copies, and everybody was wanting copies. And as soon as I saw it, I wanted them to burn them all. I was just angry because of that headline.
You get to say loses that. And I knew where you're going with it. I was already getting mad as you're saying it, because just the fact loses battle.
Yeah. And it's, I don't think they even thought of what that would feel like. It would be like I think the same thing it would say if, when you're talking about anybody that passes away in a tragic way, when you talk about them losing, it seems less of. I don't know. That's how I interpreted it.
I interpret the same way. Yeah, someone dies in a car accident and said loses battle against other car or something.
Yeah.
But loses battle, like he did not lose anything. He fought stronger than any of us.
Yeah.
He's
I stood up at the memorial service and I actually said, he's where we all strive to be. And, because I am faithful. I'm a Christian and I believe in heaven and I believe in all of those things. And I stood up and spoke, and that's what I said. He made it there before the rest of us. And he didn't lose anything. I lost because I don't have him here, but he didn't.
Right.
In my opinion. So.
Well, it's fact. He didn't lose.
But yeah, it's things like that I don't think people stop, and think about, that affect families in all of this. Just those little things.
Right. And I don't think they're like, oh, I want to hurt people, but they just didn't think about it, to your point. I don't think it was intentional, but
no, it's not intentional.
But
still,
it's so ridiculous. The verbiage loses battle there's no losing there.
And that's why I think as content creators, if we're going to cover these kinds of cases and we're going to talk to family members, or we're going to, cover these tragic events, we have to be mindful of how we choose to tell their story and be very careful about our wording and things that we're saying. Always, first and foremost. That's just how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always easy because I'm not perfect. And I know I've said stuff probably before that's been hurtful, but it's like you said, whenever I see, Kelsey made that huge post after CrimeCon and talked about how when she was grieving after the Anthony Shot stuff came out, and she was so angry. And the first thing she did was go to the cemetery and yell at her sister. Can you imagine all the stuff that's been written on Reddit about her doing that? Look at her. She's out there being mad at her dead sister and all that. I mean, and anger's part of grief.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of it. It's part of being angry, and she's angry because that was her best friend and she thought they shared everything. And this is a part of something she didn't share with her.
Right. And people understand grief. You have to understand that she's going to do that. And then guess who she's going to be angry at next? Herself. unfortunately, and it's sad.
Yep.
So people need to be aware. She's going to be really upset with herself, and that's when people could potentially harm themselves because of the guilt. So that's how it goes.
Mhm.
Usually project it outward, and then you look inward. So people do need to
Right.
be careful
Right.
with their comments. And yeah, it's tough. I totally get what she did and why she was mad. It's part of the process, and people process it different. So guess
Yep.
just always to, empathy is a word that gets thrown out a lot, but I think simply empathy is put yourself in someone else's shoes, even briefly, and just the best that you can, even if you haven't had a loved one killed, just kind of assume what
You
it would
might
be
feel
like.
like if
Yeah.
you were sitting in your dentist chair and all of a sudden here's this huge podcast about them and nobody talked to you about it and you didn't know anything about it or whatever. Or the family members that hear about their loved one's death on the news, because it happens. They're not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to put stuff out until family members have been notified. But we all know that that doesn't always happen. And, how horrific to find it out that way. So, yeah, put yourself in their shoes. I totally and absolutely agree with you on that one, 100%. So tell me, what do you think is going on? Do you think when do you think the trial will come? Are you having any ideas or feelings now that he's been found competent? Do you think it's going to move faster or what?
So it's supposed to be September. They haven't gave an exact date, and it's weird. It's like I could learn more about the Delphi case than my own cousin's case, because there's certain things in Indiana that's more public record than versus California, where his case is taking place. And it's calling a bunch of times to figure out what dates are. So it is September is when the trial is going to start. Knock on wood. Hopefully it does start. I've been through this so many times where, all right, here it's going to start, and then it doesn't. I mean, it's going to be over 4 years from when he was killed. 6 months until Anthony Rada was apprehended, and then now. So I just
Are
hope
you
it
going
goes.
to plan on doing a victim impact statement at the sentencing of this person, do you think, if he's found guilty? Or, do you think
I
you
had
will
one
do?
written for.
I was just wondering if you would
Mhm.
be able to do a victim, and I think you would. They would allow you to do that, and I just wondered if you would.
Mhm. Yeah, I would. It'd be tough,
I
but I
know.
think I would. Just like how you found the strength, and you're telling me, I think I would find the strength and go and do it.
Even if you can't do it your absolute self, you could write it and have an attorney read it or whatever. But I think that it would be, in my opinion, just to say to you, I think it would be cathartic for you to do one,
Mhm.
to get a lot of that anger that you
Mhm.
do still have, put it down on paper to him, of what he's done to you and your family and what he took from you. Because it needs to be said, and no better way to have it on the record.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
I'm
that's a
sure
great
that
idea.
it will be hard I think that would be hard for Erica to do, but maybe she will be able to be strong enough to do it. But
Yeah, and even if she wants me to read hers, so we talked about this when it was supposed to happen a few years ago, and I wrote one down, and then it's another thing. It's like, well, now that the trial keeps getting pushed back, you can't. It's like holding in a sneeze. You can't get it out. You wrote it down, which does feel better, but it's been year. I'm probably going to write a fresh one now. I'll look at that, but I think I'll
yeah,
start
because it's taken
writing.
longer. I think that part needs to be part of it. You didn't get
Mhm.
to deal with this right away and get it out of the realm of healing.
Mhm.
You guys can't really completely start to heal at all your hearts from this until all of this is resolved. It's still open, the wound, in my opinion, because you've got this trial sitting over your heads.
And thanks to SD put. Thanks, SD.
Oh, that is really nice. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. No, these topics that we talk about are sad, and it's hard sometimes, but I think this has been good with this part because it brings the emotion into it. And you can't, a lot of people want to cover these cases almost like antiseptically. And when you do that and you take the emotion away, it takes the realness of the acts and the families and these people of being real. It takes that away too. So I don't think that we can be that way with them when we talk about them. And it's hard, and it is hard. But I'm so glad that I had you come on today. I hope you don't feel that it was too difficult to talk about. Is there anything else that you want to talk about while we're here?
Just thank you. You made it easy to talk about, because
so
I know
welcome.
where your heart is. So,
did you want to say anything at all about what your next step is? Because have you told anybody about what you're doing with Delphi, or did you not want to bring that up? Or
well, my end date was May 1st that I had. So the plan is not to put any more content out. But if I could help behind the scenes, I'll do that. So I kind of gave myself a 3-month time period, and it's emotionally consuming it for my business too. I mean, maybe people don't realize, but when some of us, I lose money every hour that I'm working on something, I lose money. So, I mean, I've spent thousands of dollars on the case. So there's that too. And it's just, it is draining. And I gave myself 3 months to see if I could help. And it's so hard to help in this case with such little known
information. Yeah.
information.
Well, I can tell you, I know for a fact the families appreciate all that you've done. I can tell you that for a fact. And they appreciate anyone who's willing to get out there and put this story out there in the manner and fashion in which you did. I'm going to miss you not putting out content. I'm just going to come out right out and say it. I've already told you that, but I get it. And I understand, where you're coming from. But you have a really great way of communicating, and I know what you do, so it doesn't surprise me about you, but just keep that in mind, because I think Estee's right. The community does need people like you. Not that you have to be in it full time and losing all the money that you're losing doing it, but I think you still need to keep some sort of a presence, even if it's a small one. I'm going to say
and
that
I feel
to you.
like since you're here for the community, it's like it's in good hands. Maybe if you weren't there, I would feel even more obligated to do things, but I know people could go to your channel and get
the
nice content coverage they deserve.
You are so kind.
It's helping me transition. And some of the friends that I've made, some others where I've made friends through this tragedy. And hopefully I did bring some awareness to the case.
You did.
And if there's things I can help with,
we're here for you. So don't ever think that we're going away, because we're here for you. I want to be here for you when this trial starts. I want to be, even if we don't even cover it, I'm just here for you. I want you to know that. I think a lot of the people that subscribe to your channel feel the same way now that they know about this. So you definitely got people here that are in your corner through all this. So know that.
100%. It is great for all the positive things. Yeah, there's 1 or 2 negative comments here or there, but there's so many more positive people than there are negative. Just the negative probably impacts us more, but there are just so many positive people who are here for the right reasons and encouraging, and they know we're not perfect, but we're here for the right reasons. And yeah, they made it great.
because that's the thing, negativity breeds negativity. And it's really hard sometimes to not see that and fall into that. But I really try hard to keep away from it because life's too short, as you well know.
Mhm. Agreed. Well, thanks again for covering the case and
You're so
for
welcome.
talking
Thank
with
you
me.
for entrusting him with me because it really, really touched my heart, as you know. I've cried a lot over Tristan, um, and I just feel for his family and his little girls, and I pray for them. So,
Me
and
too.
you. But it was great seeing you today. I've missed not talking to you. I know you've been busy trying to get yourself back into your normal workflow.
Mhm. Getting there.
So, but I will let you go because I know you've got a lot of things going on. So we will chat later. But
Yes,
thank
we
you so
will.
much for coming on. And everybody said, thank you, take care, and they'll be watching. So
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Kristen.
you're welcome, Figs. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. So there you go, guys. Fig is not going to be putting out any more content on his channel. And that was, I don't know if you guys have been over to his channel, but he changed his channel this week and it just says Fig was here. And so, yeah, that was hard for me because I really do believe that he is one of the good guys in this community. And I believe that he has done a lot of good. And digital, boy, can you see his analytical mind in some of this other stuff? And it's just like, yeah. Tamara, because it's a choice that he made a deal with his family that he would give it 3 months to see if he could um, make a difference in Delphi. And like he said just now, he feels that there's so much unknown information that it's really hard. So to really make a true difference. But yeah, I think it's really important that we continue to support him and remember him and remember Tristan and Tristan's girls and his family, because just a horrific thing. And if you guys do want to know more about it, that Lost Hills podcast is really a good one. So, but I'll keep in contact with him for sure, and we'll pull him back in here. I'll get him to come back on and talk to us about Delphi or something. Don't worry. I'll try so that we can keep him around, because he does have a great analytical mind. And I'm sure that whatever else he decides to do will be just as important. So guys, that's pretty much it for me. I really, really, really appreciate all of you for being here today. We have come a long way, you guys, in a few short months. I know you guys have probably seen that I hit over 1,000 subscribers. I'm so happy to tell you that I never in my wildest imagination thought that I would be here. And Fig is a lot of the reason why I did. He can say what he wants, but he pushed for my channel at the end, the last few weeks that he was working in April. He really pushed hard to get my name out there and to talk about me. And he did help. And I wish him well. I wish him absolutely the best. But AJ had talked about possibly having a 1,000 subscriber party. So I think that that's something that I'm going to be thinking about doing. Probably sometime next week, I will have a live, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of a party we can have. I'll go over that with some of my mods and see if we can come out about it. Hey, Grizz, I'm so sorry. I sent it to my Discord. It was in my mods Discord. I'm sorry. The only reason that that you missed it, I was here with Fig, and so you'll have to watch the replay. But I'm really sorry that you missed it. Thanks, John. I'm glad the word is out now. But yeah, Lipsha, I'm really excited. I'm really excited that I hit that milestone. It's a big milestone. And so now you guys see that I do have super chats. I did go ahead and turn that on. I'm not going to be pushing it a ton because I don't feel comfortable right now doing that. But I know the bot, I think, will be, and I think a couple of my mods might mention it or whatever. But you guys, if you feel that desire and you want to give something to the channel, please feel free. I am going to use the money that I collect. We're going to give a portion of what we get in every month to Tech Death. You crack me up. He says everybody needs to sub and get him to 300. I think don't you have more than that? I thought for sure you did. But we got to get Tech Death out there. We got to get him up there as well. But anyway, what I was saying is I'm coming up with some charities that fall into our genre, similar to what Gray Hughes does, but definitely not on any scale that he does, because I know that we're not even close to that. But Maria and I have talked about it, and she's got some good ideas of things that we could give money to. So I just want you guys to know that's what we will be doing with the money the channel makes. So, and yes, I will keep a portion of it so that I can get I need a couple of new things for my podcast itself. And, but other than that, I really want to give back and make a difference, whether it be given to the DOE fund, the DNA fund. So maybe we could give money to them to help identify an unidentified body. That would be great. So those are some of the things that are happening. I also have a super special guest that will be coming on this weekend. I'm still waiting to get the final confirmation from him on what day. Hold on a second. I was going to look something up to see if he had responded to me today, because I had a lot going on earlier. My grandson was sick and I had a crazy, crazy day. So I'm looking to see if he's responded. So just give me a minute to check on him. Okay, so yeah, I haven't heard back from him yet, so I'm not going to say anything until I do for sure. He was thinking it would be fine, but I guess I'll let you know who it is, but it may not be this weekend, but it's going to be very, very soon. So for those of you who are still here and are still listening, I'm going to have True Crime Jesus on my channel. So he has agreed to come on. my channel. So I think that will be a really great interview and talk to him, and I'm looking forward to it. So I put it out there. Now he has to do it because it's out in the public. I mean, he told me a long time ago he would, when I first started my YouTube channel. So I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, yeah, guys, listen to you. Tech Death, how did you know? You knew it. Oh, you guys are so funny. Tristan is not a tease. No, Digital, I wanted to tell you, I wanted to make everybody, I want you guys who show up and are here for all my lives, I really wanted you guys to know, because it's a big deal to me. He is a very private person, and so I'm excited. I've known him for a long time over on Reddit, and Grizz, you are so funny. He does know a lot. He does. He's a pretty intelligent guy as well. So it will be interesting to interview him and for us to get to know him a little bit better. So I will Tech Death. I will tell him you said hello. He loves your music. So he's a musician as well. So all these musicians that are he's one of 275 subscribers. Tech Death, you are something. Okay, everybody, let's start pushing Tech's channel so that we can get him up to 1,000. So we need to get him to 1,000 and get his name out there so he can start doing music for more content creators. I think that's so funny that there's so many people that hear your music and they're like, oh, that's Tech Death, isn't it? I'm like, he's pretty amazing. You know what, Tech Death, when I was talking to Gonzo last night, he brought up again how amazing of a musician you are. I think that's pretty impressive coming from him. So there you are. John, that's awesome. I'm glad that you have subscribed to him, because he has some great music that we all should be listening to. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off here because I need to get some water before I start having a coughing fit and a coughing attack on you. Thank you, Daisy. Please listen to his music. You will love it. He's really good. Yeah, Grizz. He says Tech Death is the real tease. That's hilarious. Yeah, Graz is going live in 20 minutes. So hop on over to Graz's channel. I think tonight he is talking about what did he tell us? Cases that are unsolved. So he did find out about the Oklahoma Girl Scouts murders. That case from 1977, that case was solved this week by DNA. So I just want you guys to know that should be really a good show. So we will see him. And also take a look at Graz's picture on his community page that he posted a few hours ago. What a handsome guy. He needs to take off his beard. I like him without his beard. I'm going to be the first one to say it out loud. He needs to ditch that facial hair. But anyway, I will talk to you guys later, and we'll see you soon. Everybody be safe out there, please.